What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Daphne. I am a full-time model. I live in New York City, and today's video is going to be all about my book that I just released literally last week. My book is called The Model Manual. It is a guide for aspiring or beginner models, and I thought that I would film a video just talking about how I wrote it, how it started, everything about the publishing, and just answer a couple of you guys' questions from Instagram. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're interested in buying the book or checking it out, I will have the link to the Amazon page in the description box, and I will also have the Instagram for the book linked below so you can get a little bit more of an idea of what the book is about and where some of the proceeds are going and all of that. So I'm gonna get straight into it because I do want to answer some of your questions towards the end of the video. So if you guys want to skip my story time, you can check out the timestamps in the bar below and just fast forward. Where do I even start with this? I don't even know where to start. Basically last year during the pandemic, it was early lockdown. I think it was like the beginning of May. If you guys were following me at that time, you would have probably noticed that I was kind of falling off with my vlogs because every day was the same. I didn't really know what to film anymore, and I kind of got the idea to start filming some more modeling related content, like sit down videos. Even though our industry wasn't doing great at the time, I just figured it would be nice to like build up a database of videos or to just have something entertaining for people to watch while they're sitting at home. So I started writing outlines for the videos and coming up with topics and things like that, which is already something that I do for all of my other sit-down videos. And then one day as I was writing, I was thinking to myself like, wow, this could actually be really useful if it was an actual guide or an actual book. So that's where the idea came from. And to be honest, like I've always felt that there was a huge lack of guidance and resources for beginner models, you know what I mean? You come into this industry and you kind of just move as you go. Every day you're learning new things and you're faced with new challenges, and no one's really there to like tell you what to do or tell you what's right and tell you, you know, things that you can avoid or do differently. So yeah, as time went on, I became pretty inspired to write this book, or just even see if I could write it, because I don't know, I felt really passionate about it. And honestly, this is also a huge reason why I started my YouTube channel in the first place, you know, was to educate girls and give them a realistic view of what it's like to be a working model in New York City, you know, not the girl who's at the top, but the girl who literally worked to get to where she is, you know, and is still working to get to where she wants to be. So yeah, that's how the idea of the book started. And that's kind of when I started doing my brainstorming, you know, thinking about what topics I would want to talk about, doing my research. And by research, I was more so just like digging back into my past and my experiences and thinking about the things that I would have wanted to know when I first started. From May of 2020 until probably January of this year, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell a single person that I was writing this book. I also didn't really set any expectations for myself because I just feel like there's so many people, and not to throw any shade, but there's so many people who, you know, say that they're going to write a book or say that they're going to do something and then it never happens, and I just didn't want to be that person. And I also didn't want to put pressure on myself for something that I didn't know if it was possible, or even if it was like if it was even gonna be something that was like wanted or needed in the industry, you know. I just kind of wanted to see where I could take it, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't work, then at least I tried, you know. So yeah, I kind of just wrote here and there, and then it wasn't until January of this year that I shared it with someone. I actually sent it to my dad, and I explained what I'd been working on. I kind of explained my idea, and I was like, what do you think? My dad actually wrote a book, so he kind of knows like the ins and outs, and he kind of did that whole experience already. So I knew that I was gonna get the feedback that I needed from him, which is just honest, direct, and straightforward. And his response was so positive. So that's when I became really excited, and I truly threw myself into it completely. I think from the beginning of January until the middle of April or something, I was writing every single day. It was like the perfect distraction from a slow work time and winter, COVID winter in New York City. It was just like the timing could not have been more perfect. The actual writing process was kind of everything that I expected, to be honest. The first few months were super fun because there were so many chapters that I could choose from and so many topics that I, you know, could choose to write about. So every day I was choosing something new. And, you know, if I got bored writing about one thing, then I would switch to something else. And then over time, I was just left with the things that I either found very difficult to write about or things that I just wasn't really interested in, but I knew were important. So my progress was slowing down as I, you know, had more and more of the book written, which is inevitable. So yeah, I would say overall the writing was hard. It was really hard. It took a long time. That part of it was definitely what I expected. It was not all like sunshine and rainbows. And, you know, there were a couple times throughout the writing process that I checked in with someone. I sent it to my dad and I sent it to my best friend Philip. Philip was a huge like part of this whole process. And he actually gave me really amazing feedback a couple of times, and I actually ended up rewriting part of it because he was just like, you have to remember who you're writing this for, you know, like you are writing this as if it's being written for someone your age or older, and the reality is you're writing this for someone who is younger than you. So there are a lot of learning curves, but I'm lucky that I had people who were very honest with me and kind of steered me in the right direction when I needed that. I pretty much wrote all the way up until August. I think August was when I officially finished writing everything. And that was a huge milestone in itself because I was so sick of it at that point. So tired of reading about modeling, writing about modeling, looking at my own writing. It really is like a whole experience. And I think I gave myself like a week or two from even like looking at it or touching it because I was just so sick of it. But at the same time, that's kind of when it became fun, because once you're done writing it, you can start formatting it like a real book. So I started like using the right margins and like structuring it properly and splitting everything up into chapters. And I also started playing around with graphics. So that's, to be honest, that's kind of when I gained like another wave of energy for it, because it actually started becoming real. And we'll get into these questions later, but one of the questions that I got in my Instagram Q&A was, if there's one thing that you would have done differently, what is it? And that is formatting my book sooner. For months you're writing in this Word document, and it's like a never-ending Word document. It's kind of like you're just writing for no reason because it doesn't look like anything. At least that's how it felt for me. And then all of a sudden when I started playing around with the cover and like the chapters and colors and, you know, even just like the little charts and things that you guys will see if you buy the paperback version of the book, it just became so much more fun and also so much more real. So if there's one thing that I could change, I would have formatted it into a book sooner. Speaking of learning, I truly learned so much doing this. I learned like how to rewrite the English language. It's crazy like how many grammatical errors I had when I sent it to my editor. I learned Adobe Acrobat, I learned Illustrator, I learned how to query for book agents, like all of these things that I'd never heard of or never done. Like I learned how to do that, and that was probably the most rewarding thing out of everything. Okay, so now that we've covered the whole story, I'm gonna talk to you guys about how I went from my little Word document to this. This is my book in the flesh. So when you want to publish a book, the first thing you have to do is get a book agent or a literary agent. And basically how you do this is you send them a query letter, which is like a letter explaining your book and why you think you'd be a great fit for this literary agency. And along with that query letter, you have to send like a couple of chapters, you have to send a book pitch, you have to send what else was it? You have to send a biography, and then some agencies require like extra documents. So I think I sent out like 10. So I waited a couple weeks, didn't hear anything back, and that's kind of when I decided to go down the Amazon self-publishing route. So before I even started with the Amazon stuff, I sent my final written edit to an editor. I found a really good editor off Fiverr, and you know, I just paid this person to read and edit the whole document. I think it took the person like 10 days to get back to me, and it was the best decision I ever made because she made so many amazing changes, and she actually also gave me really good like personal feedback on the book, which I so appreciated. And yeah, after I did that, that's when I kind of started figuring out the whole KDP publishing thing. The program is pretty straightforward. It's actually really straightforward and easy to use. The thing that took me the longest was formatting it properly so it actually fit the margins. And you know, part of the problem for my book was that I used like 2 separate programs to kind of like create the book. So all of the graphics in the paperback, so like the cover and like these kind of pages and all of the graphics in there, like even the chapter covers, like this, those were all created in a separate, like a separate program. It was not created in Word. So like putting that together and getting those margins to line up and getting that to format was kind of a nightmare. Sorry guys, my battery died. When it came to like figuring out the right fit and making sure all the pages were the right margins and stuff, I really relied on the book previewer, which is probably the best part of this whole thing, is that you can literally preview the whole book and how it's gonna look beforehand. So I think I uploaded my document like 25 or even 30 different times to make sure that it was like the right fit. And I was just like swiping through and making sure every page looked good. Once that was all figured out and the previewer version looked perfect, that's when I ordered my first set of actual proofs of the book, which was really exciting. I ended up ordering 2 different sets. So, I mean, they all kind of look the same, but this was the first round. It came out better than I thought. There were a couple of like spelling errors or like word errors in it. And then also I had the title written on the spine and the title was just kind of off. So I fixed that up and then I ordered another set. And I think that these were actually error-free. I think so. So yeah, it's really nice that you can order these proofs. I really took my time with it because I didn't want to publish it and then have there be something wrong with it, you know? So you can order proofs as many times as you want. You can order up to like 5 proofs at a time and you get them at the printing cost. So I think for me, I don't know, I think it was like $4 every time I wanted to order a proof. And then this is the actual copy of the book. So I chose a glossy cover, and this is kind of the back. And you can see that there's a difference, a pretty big difference actually, in color between the proof and the real copy. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there is like, this one's more purple and this one's more blue. So yeah, that is pretty much everything from start to finish in terms of like writing the book and publishing it. Obviously I'm going to be learning as I go, so I will keep you guys updated on anything that I learn along the way or anything that happens. I'm quickly going to go through you guys' questions and answer a couple before I close off the video. Will your book be available in Europe too, or will there be a digital version? So yes, the book is going to be available in Europe. It's actually available at a number of European marketplaces, Amazon marketplaces, so I will link those in the description box. If your country isn't listed, it's super easy to just shop through another country's marketplace and then have it shipped to your country, and it's probably cheaper as well. But if you don't want to get the paperback, the Kindle version is available in pretty much every marketplace. Any info/guidance you wish you had for the writing process, aka TMM Part 2, the author manual. I laughed so hard when I read this. Yeah, the only thing that I wish I did, which I touched on earlier, was just making it feel like a book sooner, because it just would have made me, I don't know, maybe I would have finished it sooner, maybe I would have been like more excited towards the end rather than just having it all like in one big Word document, you know? Oh, and the other thing that I wish I knew, which I haven't mentioned, is that for Kindle you have to use a different format than for paperback. So when you're uploading your paperback document, you're using a print PDF, and then for the Kindle version you have to use a Word document. So this is actually where I ran into the most problems, and I'm glad that I'm reading this question now. But the graphics that I was talking about that I have in the paperback, like the fun little pages and like these pages and stuff that I didn't do in Word, I couldn't use those in the Kindle version. So when you buy the Kindle version, you're still getting all of the same information, you're just not getting it in the layout of the paperback. So that took up a lot of time recently, like towards the last 2 weeks before I published it, because I pretty much had to like change everything back into a Word document and take out all the graphics and reformat it because it wasn't compatible for the Kindle version. So I wish I knew that sooner, and I wish that I had kept an updated Word document and an updated PDF at the same time rather than having to like reformat it last minute. How different will the book content be from your YouTube channel Model Tips? The book is just so much more in-depth. Like there's so much detail, there's so many topics that I discuss. Everything from like understanding the business to getting signed to signing contracts to like model etiquette, but also things like you know, body image and mindset and dealing with rejection, like all of those very personal and emotional topics I go into depth about as well. I talk a lot about money and how to be financially stable as a model, tax related stuff, red flags, like I could talk about it for days, like social media guidance. Like yeah, I need to stop before I give the whole book away, but it's just a very well-rounded, informative, detailed book about everything you really need to know. So in terms of like how different will it be, it's going to be a lot different because it's going into topics that I don't really get the chance to talk about, topics that I just like don't talk about in a daily vlog, you know what I mean? So it's definitely worth purchasing in my opinion. Not biased whatsoever. Okay guys, that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was very chatty and informative. I have no idea how long this video is going to be, but as always, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for the support and all the love, and for those of you who've purchased my book, I'm so grateful. Again, if you want to check it out, all the links are in the description box. Check out the Model Manual Instagram for any updates, and yeah, I love you guys. I will see you very soon. Mwah.